What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and we're going to try a little something different again. I feel like I say that a lot here on the channel, and that's because I am constantly trying to do different things and see what you all like. A lot of you asked about my Strahd in the party. I put a community post here on basically on all social media, showcasing my event from this session from past Tuesday night here, Tuesday night the 8th, I think it was. Yeah, the 8th of September, where my party fought an old bone grinder, and Strahd was in the party. And too many of you said, you can't just drop a bomb like Strahd in the party and not explain it. So here I am. It is technically my homebrew campaign, set in my homebrew world of Everend, which is a game that a world I've been growing over time, over the past few years. And some of you had said, and rightfully so, is it technically homebrew if it's Curse of Strahd? Well, yes, and let me explain. So, Everend is a completely separate world in Faerun than Barovia and all of that. But as time went on, and maybe for future D&D story-style videos I can explain this, but my entire campaign that I had planned got completely derailed at level 3, and we got on an entirely different path than what I had designed, really one that I was super excited about to go from 1 to 20. So long story short, things have changed, so I was trying to find a way to not invalidate that or try to cut out the early level content of this campaign that I had built, and instead decided let's come up with something new. So I came up with this idea to build a prophecy and a transporting, the party can jump all around and they'll have to solve a big prophecy. The world's out of balance. How are they going to fix it? So I also decided this would be a cool way to give them closure to a lot of other characters that never got to finish their story, whether the game just dissolved, they TPK'd, or to bring an old fun character back. Some of that was characters from the world that they're playing in. Some was from older campaigns from years ago. And the thought process is this prophecy involves them gathering heroes from all across the world and bring them in, plane hopping and going to other places, bringing people back from the dead to be part of this team to go off on missions to put the world back in balance. And one of those, I alluded to the location of Yester Hill, which is an area in Barovia. And one of those characters that fulfilled that prophecy was a character known as Neville Longbottom. I know, original name. But I promise I'm getting to Strahd in the party, and I'm just giving you the backstory here. So what happened was, in our Curse of Strahd, first time playing through it, it's actually here on the main Nerd Immersion channel. It's called Curse of Strahd Season 1. You can see, I guess a spoiler alert for a 3-year-old campaign at this point, that campaign ends in a TPK, a very unexpected TPK in Old Bone Grinder, where we went there at level 3 and tried to fight 3 night hags and whatever else was in the room at level 3. We died, obviously.
Down.
Yeah.
It needs one.
I know. I just wanted to make sure she didn't accidentally sleep herself.
She did.
She didn't.
She
You didn't.
Come on.
You guys are all unconscious.
I just rolled my death saves, and I am stable.
You're stable. Good. Come on, Griff.
All right,
You're
out.
asleep.
I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it for
Do
me.
dinner, guys?
They're gonna go pick you
It's
up.
almost 6 o'clock.
No, I have to wait.
You have to little away.
But they don't know. They don't know.
This one knows.
Where
She
the fuck
comes
was
back.
she?
She was in the ethereal plane. She can just
I'm gonna go to Ethereal on this.
and then come back.
That's rude.
Yeah. It is kind of
It's
rude.
been an hour.
No.
I'm not back
That's
yet.
the rude part. They killed us all, but
Are
the
you-
fact that
are
she
you
Waited
sure?
59 minutes
Are
and
you
30
sure
seconds.
fiends are that tough?
I'm sure these fiends are exactly this tough. That first guy was no big deal. But and I was just gonna send like one down was the plan originally, and like
I figured.
you guys fight it, and it'll be kind of a problem because it was gonna lightning bolt you a couple times, and you'd hear more laughing, and then feet coming down the stairs, and then there was a howl of wolfish ferocity. And thus ends the story of our brave
I was gonna say, how does it
adventurers.
feel to theoretically cause the second TPK by
Oh my-
playing a chess game
Ah.
and not helping in the fight?
You know, it'll never flood.
Yeah, I know. That's the second TPK you've caused, Pat.
I don't want to die.
All right, folks.
Those characters all passed away in the moment, and we also lost Ismark and a few others. And we had themed all of those characters unexpectedly, and then kind of became a joke after Hogwarts houses. One of the characters named his character Angus Ravenclaw, and then we were all like, oh, I guess it's going to be Hogwarts. So then we had Griff Endor, Nick Nack, Hufflepuffer, and Sassy Slytherin were all the 4 characters. And my character Griff, who was a paladin, had a paladin buddy named Neville Longbottom. We all died in Bone Grinder. So then we went on to play a second campaign, again on this channel, Curse of Strahd Season 2, where we were all new characters, but the whole thing was different, right? The whole vibe of Curse of Strahd was kind of shot, right? We knew some of it. We weren't going to play through the beginning parts again. So the DM came up with a new version, and we knew the wedding was supposed to probably happen between Irina and Strahd. And that's actually where the new campaign started. We were invited to the wedding, and that was kind of the whole storyline. We played through it. Things were very different in that campaign because we were all higher level. And basically, the crux of Strahd and the party is the way the DM devised to complete that campaign was we were given a feather by the Raven Queen. And if we were to immobilize Strahd and basically pierce his heart, not with a stake or something else to kill him, but with this feather, it would turn him into a human, and we could take him out and leave Barovia with him, saving Barovia from Strahd's tyranny.
You stab him with a feather. And as you do, slowly all of the stakes pop out of his body.
So you're a bad
He
thing.
begins to shrink. Smaller and smaller. And you see the cares and the worries melt off his face as color slowly returns to it. And
I'm worried.
the
about
shackles slide off, and laying in the coffin is a baby.
Oh.
A baby. Oh.
And
With
not vampires.
A small bit of black hair with piercing blue eyes, staring back up with you. Intelligence. And then
Oh, free baby, guys.
And then our characters left Barovia, went back to Faerun, and there Strahd grew up under the basically adopted child of a paladin that was in our party, a paladin of Bahamut, and the rest of the party was involved in his life, and he basically grew up with them, training under them.
it's an early evening tonight, so towards winter, and you notice that Bruce didn't make it home from temple in time. You go out,
Should have fucking
and
killed
you
Should have killed him.
open the door. You see a heavy mist laying around.
Why wouldn't Esmeralda read his thoughts throughout the years, please?
This is 16 years later. This is.
I'm just saying, I
What?
would.
Should have killed the freaking baby.
Said I brought it up. I didn't say
No,
I couldn't do
I
it.
was
brought it-
gonna-
Anyway, continue the
I
story,
would have been
Jake.
okay
And
with
then-
killing it.
You look for him for days and days, but you're never able to find poor Bruce. After that night where he's lost in the mist.
Dicks on dicks.
Flash of lightning, laughter, the end.
How that campaign ended. So I decided when they were going to go back to Barovia in my homebrew campaign to try to retrieve a hero, which ended up being Neville, it would be fun to set it in the world where Strahd had been defeated by another party, went to Faerun, was a human for 18 years, and then was sucked back into Barovia by the dark powers. So that I thought would be a fun concept because all of those people in Barovia had 18 years of peace. The sun was shining, everything was great. The devil was destroyed. He came back. The dark powers resumed, his control over him and became a vampire again. And now he is the new Strahd. But receiving all of his old memories when he became truly Strahd von Zarovich of Barovia again, but still retaining all of his knowledge and the influence of being raised for 18 years in a wholly good group by paladins, clerics, and so on. So, my party going in to possibly deal with Strahd, trying to find where Neville was being housed, they were level 15. I think one of them was actually level 17. So I needed to make the game significantly harder because of that. So the showdown with Strahd, which is ultimately going to happen, that's what everybody wants, right? They want to fight the big vampire bad guy. I had Strahd have the stats that he has in the book, but also on top of that, Strahd also has levels in Paladin, as well as some stuff to deal with Artificer, which I'll explain in just a second and tell you how that fight went down. I also looked up about how to make Strahd more interesting in combat, and one of the basic things I saw was change up his spells, give him more damage dealing combat ready spells rather than some of the other things that he has. So I did that. I gave him things like Chain Lightning. I gave him a little bit higher level spells. I gave him Seeming because I thought that would be an interesting spell to right out the gate make him and everybody else in the room that's there with him look like him. So that way it would be harder for the party to tell who was who and, have them all go about it. It didn't work out that way, but they had to defeat this great epic Strahd fight where Strahd had levels of Paladin, so he could Divine Smite with his spell slots. He had some Artificer created armor and magic items because one of the characters that beat Strahd was an Artificer. So I gave him the kind of molten metal armor from Mythic Odysseys of Theros, the one that kind of goes under your skin, like under your clothes, and gives you resistance to fire damage. So he had that. And Strahd also has animated armor that he wears, or that he has as like an NPC you can fight. So I was looking a lot at the Mythic Odysseys of Theros mythic characters, and I thought, man, it would be really cool if I did a mythic Strahd. How would I do that? So I had his armor go onto him, like it had it like Iron Man onto his body. And what I had was the armor provided all of the resistances that animated armor has, gave it to him, so he had like resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, and all these other kinds of things. And I let the armor let him have one additional attack. So he has 2 attacks normally, and I had like basically the armor move him and swing for a 3rd attack. And eventually when the party defeated the animated armor, it fell off of him, and then he had his regular hit points again. So the reason I say that is it starts going south for the party quick. They did a good job dispatching the other minions in the room. There were some vampire servants, as well as Strahd's 3 brides. They were there. The party did a really good job of kind of knocking them out with Turn Undead and other things, putting them on the other side of the room. But 2 of the party members were down and unconscious, dying. And it was basically the Barbarian versus Strahd while Neville was trying to keep everybody else alive. And the Barbarian and Strahd actually kind of hit it off early on, like just talking about crafting, because this version of Strahd is a good crafter because of the Artificer rate being raised by 1. And then, I was having Strahd be playful and kind of teasing people throughout the fight because, I could do that, and the party's level 15, so we can get away with this kind of stuff. So I was just like, he was like, oh, it's so disappointing. We could have been the wonderful friends. We could have shared all of our crafting secrets, and I could have taught you all so much. But instead, we find ourselves having this fight, and it's truly, truly unfortunate. And I just was being a dick as Strahd. And the Barbarian basically says a pretty convincing argument. And he's like, well, we don't have to be fighting. You're making us fight. We don't have to do this. And then he's just like, maybe you've never been to our world where we come from. Maybe those dark powers, maybe they can't find you there. Maybe we can kill those dark powers and then you can truly be happy. And I had the Barbarian make a persuasion check, and he rolled really well. And I should also point out that the Barbarian is my version of a Battle Rager. So he has all his spikes, and he's holding Strahd as is an action away from just shaking Strahd and ripping him apart on his armor spikes. And that's he's being held like this, and they're having this conversation. And eventually, he convinces him enough that Strahd decides to stand down, basically, not fight. Neville manages to raise the other 2 downed allies, and they all kind of realize, dude's a bad guy, right? Obviously, we all know that, but he was happy when he was growing up again, and all he does is truly, he wants to be happy, but the dark powers see to it that he's never happy, so that they can keep feeding off of him in the land of Barovia. So, longer story short, they convinced Strahd, hey, listen, why don't we get out of here? You have the power to let people leave. Why don't you come with us to our home, our plane where we're from? And if you can make it there, maybe we can find a way for you to be happy. And maybe if we have to come back and deal with these dark powers, we have other friends, we'll bring them back and we could deal with it. And he's just like, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's give it a shot. So they decide to go and do that. And Neville, who's like, was trying to maybe get his revenge on Strahd, that's taken from him. All of his friends are dead. He says, all right, guys, but before we go, can we at least take out those hags? I just feel like it would give me closure. And Strahd's like, well, I don't really have any love for them. They kind of do their own thing, and I do my own thing, and we just keep ourselves separate. So Strahd decided to join the party because he's like, I want to get out of here. And the thing is, I told you the party was plane hopping. They have a tower that has the ability, it has like controls to jump planes. So this spire, Veilguard Spire, can exist on multiple planes, and there's been talk of the Veilguard on these different planes in my homebrew world. It was permanently stationed in my homebrew world, but it has a place where it used to be on Faerun and Barovia and wherever else I needed to go for story's sake. So Strahd joined the party. They took out Morgantha, the one who sells the dream pies. They took out that hag. My dogs are scratching. I don't know if you can hear that. They took out that hag in the city of Barovia. It was a rough fight. They managed to defeat her. Then they rested and went back to go to Old Bone Grinder and take on the other two, who had a Banderhob, and then later they pulled out some other undead and other creatures to help fight in this epic showdown. And it was also a very dangerous fight, right? I was using the Elder Night Hags found in the Monster Manual Expanded on the DM's Guild. I used those. They're significantly more powerful. I was using the Banderhob, which has good abilities as well, and the Bodak was the other one with the deep, one with the long, kind of almost like scream mask mouth. And that one, like if you stare at it, you just take damage or you start your turn at it. So it was a pretty crazy fight. And Strahd helped them to defeat those hags. They went back to the tower. Strahd gave the ability to the tower to leave Barovia, and they he came with them, and they're back in my homebrew world. And that is kind of where that story ended. I had Strahd pass out because I haven't decided, and I'll let you guys, if you made it to the end of this video, let you help me decide. I haven't figured out, should Strahd still be a vampire in this world? Should he still have, he shouldn't, right? Because if he's in theory broken from the dark powers, maybe he's not a vampire. I think he should also lose all of the dark power granted, which I gave him all of his spell slots and training as a wizard from the dark powers. I think that should all go away. And in theory, he should be an artificer or a paladin. And in my mind as a DM, if they want to truly add him to the party to help deal with these issues with the balance, I kind of want to make him be an artificer, because they don't have someone like that as on the list of heroes to choose from. So an artificer would be something cool. But I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think should happen to Strahd? If he's an artificer, what kind of artificer should he be? Should he be the armorer, right? Because I did the whole animated armor, the new one that's coming out in Tasha's. We've got some time before it's Tuesday is when the next game is. So I'd love to see if your feedback could help me figure that out. Sorry again for this. It's just another one of these me talking at you at the camera for a little while. I don't have a better way that I've devised, and maybe again you have an idea for more D&D stories you'd like to see. I have a bunch, right? I've been playing for a long time. I've been running games a lot more, and I have some fun kooky stories of things my players are done. I debated putting on a smoker's jacket and having a glass of scotch and sitting in a recliner and doing a masterpiece theater kind of a thing with a setup camera and dim kind of candles lit and stuff. I could do that if you think that'd be more fun. I'd still be talking at the camera. I know this works well for people like Puff and Forrest and others who can animate and they do the animations on the screen, and that helps. I can't do that. Or if I could, it would be stick figures, and boy, I don't know if you want that. Or I guess I could have taken minis and been I'm gonna let you, I'm gonna get you, Strahd. No, you're not. Everything's gonna be great. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If this does well, I'll keep doing more of these. If not, it'll just be a fun thing that exists as a moment in time. Thank you all so much for watching again. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon for continuing to support me in the channel. And I will see you all next time.